This is a bit of an impromptu vlog for a very impromptu costume I'm about to start. So backstory, it's Tuesday. I am supposed to be working on this wedding dress for a client, but I got to a point where I need her to come in for a fitting and she can't until Saturday. My husband, daughter, and I are going to be taking a trip to Yellowstone and Arches National Parks. And at the back of my mind, I've been thinking for the last couple of weeks that it would be really nice to bring a costume to shoot with, but I also knew that I've just got too much going on and wouldn't have the time. Enter fate presenting me with a few free days, and I have decided, perhaps rather crazily, to take advantage. So I'm going to make something from scratch. Now, luckily, I have been working on a pattern for a dress for my motherhood image I'll be creating for my Passages series, and I decided that I would kill two birds with one stone. I needed to test out this pattern that I had made for that project, and so I just sewed all the pieces together. I tried it on, it fits. There's a few adjustments I need to make, but I'm gonna be able to use it for the mother costume, and I'm gonna use parts of it to create this new costume. I changed my mind. I am gonna do that much boning. So I separated all the pieces. Now I have it laid out. I'm gonna use this fabric as the lining for the green fabric. So I'm gonna cut it out in this first. I'm gonna make my adjustments by making the point here, bringing this up a little higher and out. And then once I have it cut out in the lining fabric, I will take the lining and use it as a pattern to cut out with the green, blue, teal fabric. I have the lining pieces cut out, and now I have them on the fabric and trace. So next step is to cut it out of the actual dress fabric. All right, we are all pinned up. Now we sew. It is now the afternoon. We had to take a break because my daughter got up from her nap. It took a little bit longer than I thought it would to troubleshoot some of the issues I was having with the corset, but it's all sewn together, both the corset and the lining. So now I need to iron it all. By the way, it's this pretty lady's 9th birthday today. Happy birthday, Echo. I'll just show you real quick the difference that ironing makes, especially when you're doing corsets, how important it is. So see how flat this one is laying, the one that I've ironed, versus how not flat this one is. So that's why we iron everything. With corsets, you usually press the seams open so that it lays nice and smooth. Okay, so I have the corset and the lining both ironed now. So it's time for the boning channels. Normally the best thing for this is cotton twill tape, but I don't have any, and as we know, I'm under a time crunch. So I'm going to try to use this bias tape that I happened to purchase at the thrift store last week. Maybe it was fate that I have this. So I'm gonna see if the boning that I have will fit in this. So what I had to check was that there was enough room once I put the boning on there. There was enough room on either side to actually stitch it on to the fabric. And there is, so we're good to go. So let's do it. All right, all of the boning channels are now cut out. So now what I need to do is I need to take all of the seams and trim them down. So from that to that, so that basically when I have the boning channel put down, it covers that seam completely, versus if I have it big, you can see the seam is still poking out. So another tedious task, but let's get to it. All right, I have a fully lined corset. So now it's time to add all the boning channels. And I'm gonna start with doing, I forget what it's called, but you do basically like one of the boning channel ribbons around the waist, and it keeps, because that is the area of like the most tension in the pole. So you put a ribbon there, sew it down so that it kind of helps keep the corset together. So that's the first step, and then the boning channels. Also, I can't remember if I mentioned it, but I'm going to sew through both layers of the corset so you see the boning seams on the outside. I'm gonna do it with this lilac thread, so it's gonna be like a nice kind of like contrast. Pinned, now we sew. Okay, day 3. Here's where we're at. All the boning channels are pinned on. Now we need to sew them, which is probably gonna be very tedious, but let's do it. I just sewed one of the boning channels on and turned it around to kind of see if I liked the effect. And the perfectionist in me is just not liking that it's not completely straight on the outside layer. So we're gonna change tactics, and I'm gonna make it so that it's not stitched through both layers. It's only gonna be stitched onto the lining. So 2 steps, whatever the saying is. We're going back a little bit, but I think it'll actually end up saving us time in the long run. It is about 11:30 and I just got all the boning channels sewn in, and I can hear my daughter chattering away in her crib, which means she's up from her nap, so time for break. On Thursdays I have writing lessons, but I have like a 30-minute window where I usually put Altia down and then I take a nap and then go to my lessons. So instead of napping today, I'm gonna try to get all of the boning cut and put in these boning channels. We'll see if I can do it in 30 minutes. It is Thursday night. I took a bit of a break to go teach some writing lessons at the barn that I work at, but I just finished putting in the last piece of boning. So now I need to go in and cut holes to do all the grommets up the back for my lace-up back. Alright, we have a 99% finished top. Is it the most amazing corset I've ever made? No, but I did it in like less than 10 hours, so I'm happy with it. Okay, so I finished the corset last night with the exception of doing the bottom hem because I'm not quite sure if I want to attach it to the skirt, that sort of thing, so I'm leaving it right now. But this means also in like embellishing because I'm not going to leave it just plain. But now I'm going to shift my attention to making the skirt. Here's my plan for the skirt. So I have these 2 petticoats that came from a friend's wedding dress that I helped her tailor. The dress that she bought when it was off the rack, it had the most ginormous poofy skirt and she didn't want that much poof. So we took out 2 layers of petticoat, but I think that's gonna work in my favor now because it's gonna go on this dress. So I have to take them in a little bit and then I'm gonna see if I want 1 or 2, if I want both of these or just 1. And then I have all of this leftover sheet and I have a second sheet. So this skirt might end up being absolutely ridiculous, but we're gonna play around with it and see what happens. Okay, I've taken in the petticoat, so now we make the skirt. All right, so in order to keep my stripes vertical, I have to somehow gather them here at the waist. So I tried doing gathering versus pleats to see what I thought, and it's fine, but I feel like it creates a lot of volume, and the petticoat is already also giving a lot of volume here. So I'm gonna take the pleat or the gathers out and try some pleats instead and see if that changes the effect. This is one of those moments where, while I have gained a lot of experience over the years, my inexperience is still showing up sometimes, and this skirt is giving me trouble, but it's a good learning opportunity. All right, so just looking at the back here, I can already tell that I want to go the pleat route because I feel like it takes up a lot less volume than gathering. So I do need to add more panels so that it closes in the back and it lays smoothly in the front. But at least now I have more of a game plan as far as how I'm going to gather it in at the waist. Okay, I think I have finally figured out the math on this. So it's going to be a 4-panel skirt, and it's going to be pleated, starting with bigger pleats in the front to keep it kind of a minimal silhouette, and then the pleats are going to get heavier towards the side. So now I have that all pinned up. I have on the floor pins marked where I need to cut it. So now I take it off and cut it and mirror that for the other side, and then we'll do the same process for the back 2 panels. All right, now we just have to do this back part, so hopefully it goes quickly. Really, all that I need to do is baste all this together and then add a waistband and then hem the bottom of the skirt and finish off this. This weekend I worked on creating some bias tape with the extra fabric, and then last night I pinned it all onto the waistband of the dress. So now we're gonna sew it on and add some clasps in the back, and then we'll try it on. All right, I got the waistband done on the skirt. So now I am adding the finishing edge on the bottom of the corset because I've decided that I'm not going to make the dress all one piece. It's going to be a corset top and a separate skirt. So I'm just finishing off the corset so it has a nice finished edge and so that the boning doesn't fall out of the bottom. And I am doing that with some bias tape, and right now I have it sewn in on one side. I'm ironing it all, and then I'm gonna go and sew it all on. I haven't decided if I'm gonna sew it with a machine or by hand. We'll figure that out. I decided I do not have time to hand sew anything, so we're machine sewing it, and I think it's turning out so far. All right, corset is done. Is it the most amazing work I've ever done? No, this bias tape is not perfect, but we are running out of time for perfect, so we're just gonna keep moving forward. So now I just need to hem the skirt, and then if I have enough time tonight, I'll start working on playing around with that tool and see what I can come up with. Okay, so I finished the dress. I didn't embellish it or anything, but that's for the card on the way up. So now I have this harebrained scheme to take all the extra bias tape that I had and turn it into the ribbon for the corset back. I'm gonna end up regretting this. All right, the ribbon is done. So I'm grabbing all the various parts and we're gonna go try it on. Okay, she is on, and I love, few notes, the weight of the skirt does pull down. So I think I might add some hooks here to like hook the corset onto the skirt. And then one other thing is this boning channel here has popped out, so I'm gonna need to redo that. But all in all, not bad for a week.